Hi, everybody. This is Jason.
And this is Pete.
And this is the Lost Legions podcast. And what are we doing today?
We're here to talk about building your armies in 3rd edition. Because it's finally here. Woohoo!
It is.
If you're watching this on the 26th of July.
The magic of the internet has made it arrive.
I'm going to animate some party hats onto us, Jay. Maybe get a barbecue going in the background.
Yeah, I will wait for that.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Yes, we're here to talk about how to build your list and what to look forward to. So hopefully you're all sat nice and smugly with your books, drooling all over them, complaining about all probably the day one FAQs that need to happen, and wondering, well, how the hell do I actually build this thing? And we're here to hold your hand. So kicking things off. Make sure this works. Perfect. So building your list. So we're going to focus primarily on the force organization chart today. So we've all seen that. We've seen the Warhammer community arcs by now. Probably have a good understanding or a broad understanding as to what's happening. And this is supposed to serve as a bit more of a deep dive. You have essentially 3 main detachments. We've got the primary detachment. You've got your Warlord detachment, your Lord of War detachment, and Allied detachment. But it's the primary detachment that will feed off and create these secondary detachments.
This is the Crusade primary detachment, right?
Yes. But it's important but your allies, Lord of War, and Warlord aren't fed within that Crusade one. Does that make sense? There's supplementary sections to it.
I almost feel like a picture would help.
So we'll come on to it. It's just important for me to mention that now. So Here we go. So this is the Crusade primary detachment. As I said, you've got the Warlord, the Lord of War, and the Allies one. We're going to circle back to them at the end, but they're not fed from this directly. It'll make more sense in a moment. Okay. So what do you get in your Crusade primary detachment? So you get a high command slot, you get 3 command slots, 4 troops choices, and 4 transports. Go ahead.
I want to just bring something up because this was confusing to me, and we had talked about this in the chat the other day. You do not need to take the high commander. I thought you did for some reason. I don't know. I'm just so used to 2.0.
No,
you didn't at all need to take the high commander. You do need to take him if you want to unlock some detachments, which I'm sure you'll get to in a minute. But none of this is mandatory, which is interesting.
Yes, none of it's mandatory, but it kind of is because it's the command, the high command, and then the command slots portrayed by the sideways helm and the front-facing helm. Then go on to unlock other detachments. So instead of having it like it used to be with troops, heavy support, fast attacks, that's it. You've now got different battlefield roles. I think everyone should by now be sort of familiar with the general gist of this. This is to serve as a bit more of us to a deep dive into how it works. So with that being said, the command slots, they can open up any auxiliary detachments, and we'll come on to those in a moment. And the high command, he can open up an apex detachment or an auxiliary detachment, which I don't know if you knew that. In our group chat, we only kind of stumbled across that the other day, didn't we? Or it became clarified, you can do one of each. So your apex detachments, we'll come on to those now. Actually, let's focus a little bit more on these units here. So your high command is your praetor level character, right? Your command slots are your consuls, your librarians, centurions,
which is
going to be popular, siege breakers, all that sort of stuff, champions. And they unlock additional attachments, as we say. The Centurion, he unlocks 2 additional detachments. So he's going to be super popular.
That's why he's super popular.
Yeah. Your troops choices here, you got 4. They can be tactical squads, despoiler squads, assault squads, or breach squads. And then your transports can be rhinos, termites, or drop pods. All right. You got 2 primes there. We're not going to focus on prime for this. That's another video. We're going to choosing your primes. So that's that. So focusing back on the Praetor then. So let's start with your top guy because you just built your force. You've got your main guy. You're probably going to want to take a Praetor. He's your main dude. What can he do? Well, he can unlock an Apex detachment, and that's what this looks like. So an Apex detachment gets 3 detachments. So similarly, side note, each detachment inside a main detachment is still called a detachment, but it's only in the title of detachment if it matters if it unlocks from somewhere else. It's a really silly set of words. They basically use the same sets of words for different things, but doesn't matter. Your Apex detachment, you get a combat retinue, which is your command squads. That's going to be your Augur command squad as well. So
you can pick one of these for your Apex detachment, or is this all? You're saying all of them?
Yeah, you pick one of these. Sorry, beg your pardon. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? So your Apex detachments is a detachment of your primary Crusade detachment, which doesn't make sense, but sure. And then you get one of these three, exactly. So you can choose a combat retinue, you're quite right, combat retinue, an officer cadre, or an army vanguard. And your combat retinue has three choices there, and those choices are your, what are they called? Your retinue choices, and they're made up of your Praetorian, Centurion, command squads.
Command squads, yeah.
Command squads in general, right? And your Augur command squad as well. And they have the prime attachment there as well. Your officer cadre, that's just 2 additional officer classes. So if you wanted to run an officer heavy army, and you're like, I've only got 4 in my main list, which is loads, and I definitely need 2 more, well, then you could do this. And then
I was just thinking, when I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm just going to run 17 more attacks.
yeah, exactly. Because then this unlocks more detachments, right? You could get a few more with logistical benefit and that sort of stuff. And that they're the command level, so you can't have another Praetor off of this level here. It's again the console sort of level. Or you got the Army Vanguard option as well, right? Which is then your elites. So that's going to be your assault marine elites, veterans rather, your tactical veterans. I'm going to hazard, I guess, it's going to be a heavy support veterans and breacher veterans as well from what's come out in the Legacy PDF, but we'll see.
Oh, right. Yeah, Seekers too.
And here. Seekers, thank you. Yes, yeah. So all of your fun elite troops that aren't Terminators essentially go into that area there.
100%, yeah.
And this is one of a few ways to unlock these. So you can unlock any of these units with the logistical benefit option, and I'm sure most of you know by now, but essentially you see that 6-pointed star, which I'm sure they avoided doing an 8-pointed star on purpose, but a 6-pointed star around the icon here, that's your prime. And you could choose logistical benefit, which allows you to take any one unit of your choice out of sequencing altogether to go into that detachment. So here, for example,
I believe it can't be like a command or Lord of War or anything. But
right, okay, so okay, got you. So that makes sense. So yeah, the combat retinue, you could chuck a dreadnought in here as well, for example. Right. Does that make sense so far, Jay? Anything you want to add? No, all good.
No, I think you're covering through it pretty well. I think.
It's a bit of a pig to explain. That's what I'm trying my best.
The more I've been looking at it, the more I understand it. What I would love is an app to put it together for me. But it does start to make sense as you learn what the pictures are and as you start picking it apart. And it actually seems kind of fun to make lists, but picking it apart does take a little bit of work. It's much different than how we've made lists before.
Yeah, I'm actually preferring it quite a bit, the list building aspect of it. I think it's more flavorful in a weird way. I think the icons don't actually help. I think it should be insignia icons, like the old, elites, heavy support, troop arrow thing, the lightning bolt for fast attack. It could just be those, and a few more of those would have made this much more visually, okay, I know what I've got. Because you'll see there, this is a side note, obviously, but the Army Vanguard is the veterans, is a Marine with a sword, okay, and the troops got choice is also a Marine. It just takes that split extra second to realize what you're actually looking at sometimes, right? Which is a bit interesting. Anyway, so that's the Apex detachments, and that's how you unlock these elite troops, elite units rather. There are other ways, as we mentioned, with logistical benefit, and there is another alternative way which we'll come on to towards the end. So Praetor gets Apex detachments, and he also gets he gets the option to open up an auxiliary detachment, and then every other commander on the command class gets to only have auxiliary detachments. So this is where you're going to be building the bulk of your army. Okay, and there's lots here to go through, so we'll start running through them. Armored Fist is your additional transport section. So if you're like, I really need to run up to 8 rhinos in my army, for whatever reason, you would need to take an armored fist, right? So it's going to give you 4 additional light transport options. And this is where you get the introduction of the 4 heavy support transport options.
You're also counting the 4 from the initial detachment, right? The one that you start.
Yeah, so backtracking just to the first one here, so to the Crusade primary detachment, on that bottom row there, you see you've got the 4 light transports, and then as we go down to the auxiliary detachments, we've got 4 more here again, right? So this armored fist detachment, if you were to choose this one, these boxes are each individual choice you get per unlock, if you like. You could have 4 more in addition to the original 4. And then you get your 4 heavy transports as well. So these are your Land Raiders, your Spartans, your Charybdis, Dreadnought drop pods, Dread Claws, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it gives you 8 unit unlocks here, which is pretty cool. Next, I think this is going to be the most popular one, is your tactical support. Moving across to the right. So this gives you 2 additional troops choices. And you remember, you've only got the 4 in the original Crusade detachment, whereas we used to have 6 by default. And your troops are important, because that's where you're going to be doing most of your scoring. So you're probably going to want to bump these up a little bit. But more importantly, I feel it gives you the support units, which is represented by this rapier carrier by the looks of things here, and a man next to it. And then the support squads, there's a whole list of things you get. Where are my notes? You get tactical support squads, heavy support squads, a tech marine, an apothecary, rapier batteries, Deathstorm drop pods, or arachnid platforms. Those are the choices so far. There will be more.
The platform seems very tacked on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure why he's there. But yeah, that's what we get so far. Inevitably, there'll be more in the Legacies PDF, and it's going to really start building this whole thing out. So that's that. The armored support choice. My favorite. This is where you get to add as many siege vindicators as possible. This is where you get your tanks. So you get 4 armor choices. Squadrons are gone now. You no longer get to have well they're gone on tanks, or most things they're gone. They're there on some things, but tanks they're no more. So you get 4 tanks here. Predators, Scorpius, Bombards, Sicarans, Kratos, Vindicators, Hyperius, the new anti-air missile tank that's coming out, or that has come out, is built in here. Heavy support, that's all things Dreadnought. So Contemptors, Leviathans, Derideos, the new Saturnine Dreadnought, they all go in there, and you only get 1, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is interesting because there's only 1. So this is why, with logistical benefit, you might find people sacrificing other prime bonuses to just take a logistical benefit to get a heavy support slot, because it's not like taking a heavy support slot gets you anything other than 1 Dreadnought. Yes. So I think it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, they've really hamstringed the amount of Dreadnoughts you can take. Really. And they're not as good in this edition by the looks of things, which is not a problem, but yeah, it's interesting, right? They're going to be a lot rarer on the battlefield. Combat Pioneers. So these are interesting, very interesting units. So all things recon. So you've got the recon squads, of course, Sabres, Outriders, Land Raider Explorator, which is quite interesting to have a Land Raider in there, and Tarantulas as well. What do you think about the Land Raider being in there?
I didn't realize that the Land Raider Explorator was in there. That's actually pretty interesting. I'm now thinking I could get one for the Raven Guard.
It's it's interesting, right?
It feels like one of these things is not like the other, but okay.
So you could take an armored fist, get 4 Land Raiders, and then take a Combat Pioneer and have 2 Explorators on top or something. Could be quite funny. I mean, that's a lot of points, but yeah, sure. Your Shock Assault. So that's all your hard-hitting Terminator choices. Again, a bit like the Dreadnought, really. So it's the same patterns. Not same patterns, sorry, but same sort of breakdown. You've got your Cataphracti, Tartarus, Saturnine, probably your Indomitus as well. We're going to hazard a guess. We'll go in there. That would make sense.
Yeah.
And those units tend to have the Vanguard rule attached to them, so that's going to be quite a popular choice, I think, which is all to do with scoring. So that's good. And then your first strike is your 2 fast attack choices of Xiphons, Storm Eagles, Fire Raptors, Jet Bikes, Javelins, Land Speeders, all that sort of stuff. So all your fast, zoomy, nippy belt stuff. And your Javelins, Jet Bikes, and Land Speeders still come as squadrons. So I think their squadron sizes stay pretty much the same. So you can have like 5 Land Speeders, 3 Javelins, 10 Jet Bikes.
I think that this is where some of the really unique kind of Legion detachments will come into play, because we saw a lot of them when we were looking at other things where they'd have like a first strike with shock assault or something like that, or like the combat pioneers with some elites is what the Raven Guard was off the top of my head. So I think this is where we're going to start seeing a lot of flavor per Legion, which was not necessarily obvious when we first started looking at all this stuff. Yeah,
agreed. And actually, it's a good sort of point to make as we lean into the then character-specific detachments. Have you looked at these much, Jay, or not really?
I've looked at one of them.
Yeah. So it's not as pretty a screenshot here because it's from a copy of the book, but we'll go through it anyway. So these are the Libers-specific detachments. So everything we've been through so far is a specific slot, if you like, for all armies in Heresy or all factions in Heresy, and then these are the Space Marine specific factions. So you've got and these are based on characters or other things. So you've got a demonic manifestation, which is a let me just scroll on my document to the side here. That is you get 3 heavy assault units, but they can only be Ruin Storm Demon Brute units, which who knows what the hell that does so far. And they're only available if an esoterist is taken in your force. So now we're seeing certain extra fluff coming in. This kind of feels like, to me, the old school way of Rites of War used to work, right? A character of a certain type unlocked certain battle plans and whatnot.
Yeah, I was kind of happy about that. And I'm betting you we're going to see a bunch of these coming in all these splat books that we're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, we've got the Veteran Cadre. So this here is based on you having a champion in your force, and he allows you to take 1 retinue, 1 elite, and 1 heavy transport. So this is a good way if you don't want to take a Praetor, but you really do want to take a retinue or a veteran squad, and you've already used your prime slot on getting a dreadnought or something, then this is another way that you can then unlock these units. It's a good way of. Go ahead.
You chuck a champion in your force and give him this as his detachment.
Yeah. It's actually a good way of unlocking a transport for those elite units as well.
Yeah.
Because you're getting that. You don't want. I don't really want to spend 2 detachment unlock slots on a 8 pull tank transport detachment, and then also free veteran units. But this one does 1 of each here, so. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Next, we've got down here, the Apothecarian detachment, or delegation rather. So this allows you to take up to 6 apothecaries, so 6 support units, but they must all be apothecary units, and 1 prime apothecary unit. So that'll be interesting to see how prime works on an apothecary. But this is a good way of then spreading apothecaries across your army, right?
I think they're specialists. I think specialists can join and leave units, if I remember correctly. So I think it's not like it used to be where they just start attached. But yes, that's actually, it's interesting.
Yeah, so because otherwise you're using your very, very valuable support slot for like a melter gun team to unlock 1 30-point apothecary. So I think if you're going to lean into an apothecaries, then this apothecarian delegation is pretty attractive. Yeah, I guess you could boost a apothecary up to Master Sergeant as well with the prime. That could be quite fluffy. Like have like just a battle medic who's a bit nuts. You've got then the Tech Marine Covenant, which is essentially the same as what we just described there, but with Tech Marines, exactly the same. You've got the Storm Battery, and this is one that I'm running in my force for sure. So this is available on if you take a Siege Breaker, and this allows you to take 2 support slots and 2 armored slots, but the support slots must be rapiers, and the armored slots must either be bombards or Vindicator siege tanks. So again, he gets to unlock some extra guns, basically, and tanks, which is a pretty cool mixed match. Oh, cool. So that's the main core auxiliary detachments for all Space Marines. And that's a lot to go through there. I've tried to just blast through that. Did you
skip the recon one?
Oh, it's so sneaky. I can't even see it.
It's the one I've been waiting for the whole time.
So I'm literally hovered over about to skip to the next page as well. So the Recon Demi Company is the last one. And that's available if you take a Vigilator. This allows you to take 3 recon slots and what? Something just crashed in my room. 3 recon.
It's your robot vacuum again.
Yeah, he's later. 3 recon slots and 1 fast attack slot. The recon slots must be reconnaissance squads. Not really a problem. And then you get your prime. You get your prime on your recon squad, Jay. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
For all you Raven Guard players, because you're probably going to take a Vigilator anyway. Or maybe your Alpha Legion players. So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Those are now, we've now finalized all of the auxiliary detachments. So there's a ton to go through. This is just at launch. This isn't taken into consideration, as Jay mentioned, the specific Legion ones. Then we're going to get the Tacticas as they come out and all sorts of things. We're bound to get one when the Legion Inducti rules come out, I think October, November time when they come out. So there's going to be a lot more to come out, I think.
Yeah, so I think what felt like a bit barren might actually be a lot of content once they actually start coming out. And I wish that they fleshed it out a bit more, but like I feel like it seems to me that there's going to be a lot more content coming down the pipe at us.
Yeah. And then going back to my point about the different Force Orgs at the beginning, different detachments with the Warlord one and the Lords of War one. So what you can see on your screen now, so these auxiliary detachments, these Apex detachments are all made available from this Crusade primary detachment. They feed off of that, right? These detachments have nothing to do really with being fed off of the primary one. These are just like supplementary things that you can have on the side, right? Okay. So you've got a Warlord detachment. So you could have your primary detachment and a Warlord detachment, and they don't actually unlock things in each other. They are separate things, right?
Okay.
So this must be the same faction as the primary detachment. So that's the hindrance for the Warlord one here on the left. And it may only be selected in 3,000 point armies. And this allows you to take your Warlord, one Warlord slot, 1 retinue slot, and 1 heavy transport slot. The Warlords are all of the Primarchs. There are some other characters of note, I think, and as we go through things, that will be where you unlock these guys. The retinue is the same as before, and the heavy transport is the same as before. This is where you also then get your allied detachment. So you could take all 3 of these, technically, if you wanted to.
Can you take more than 1 of these?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. I'm asking just because I wanted to do Shattered Legion stuff, and I was like, could I take 2 allied detachments? But I didn't think I could. No,
I don't think so. So these are like the primary detachment, and then these 3 are like the overarching, like you can choose 1 of each, if that makes sense. And then it's just the primary has then all the unlocks built into it. So the only one that does have unlocks built into it is the allied detachment. So the allied detachment can have 2 command levels and 4 troop levels, and those 2 command levels can then unlock auxiliary detachments. And the only other criteria for this one to be used is it must be a different faction than your primary, and I think it must be less than 50% of your army, your allied detachment. It can't be more. I think that's in the book somewhere. And then lastly, you got the Lord of War detachment. So maybe of any faction, which is interesting. That's really interesting. So you could take I've only just clocked.
So I could do it then. I could have an allied detachment and then another and a Lord of War detachment as a different legion.
You could do, but there are no legion rules on vehicles, so that's fine.
It's painting. This is all theme.
But you could, I think, do. Yeah, you could technically do a Lord of War from a Solar Auxiliary army or something, or not. If it's any faction. That's interesting. I don't know.
It seems very counter to what we've experienced before, but like, I mean, we'll have to delve into the rules and see what it says. But like, according to this, from what we see, it seems like yes, you can.
So the Lord of War detachment, you get 2 super heavy tanks, essentially, and that's all the. Where are we? So yeah, your Cerberus, Typhons, Glaives, Failblades, Falchions, Thunderhawks. Take 2 Thunderhawks in a big like 5k game or something crazy. Stormbirds, Mastodons, but you cannot exceed more than 25% of your army's total points, which I think it's kind of a shame that I think they could have bumped that up to 50%. If this was supposed to be the addition of take whatever you want, I don't know.
I don't know. I like restrictions, so totally cool with me.
Yeah, I just want to run like 2 Mastodons, just chugging up the field. I don't want to pay for it. But I want like physical cash. I don't want to pay for it, but the idea of running 2 would be fun. And that's pretty much that. So how does that then look when we begin to build things? So we have because it's Heresy Day, because it's obviously the first day of the book being out. I very kindly asked our friend Andy if we could showcase and share his little army list builder that he's been working on. Sillily, the fool hasn't patented this, so it's now Lost Legion's property. Andy, sorry, we're going to sell this for a 99p download. All your royalties are gone. So just very quickly show you this. So I'm going to put a link to this in the notes. Let me get this ready. So by all means, you can download it, play around with it. Andy's been working on it. This is not meant to be used for anything other than a bit of fun, but it's a good way of just being able to build your list so far. So he's built it out, as I'm sure you can probably see here. So at the top, you've got the Crusade primary detachment with all of the options in, with the little icons. As you scroll across, you've then got your transports over there. You've then got your Apex detachments, your auxiliary detachments, right? Everything's here for you to build. And all it simply works is, you'd put in here, like your Praetors, you type it in. You say he's 100 points or however many he is, I can't remember. You say he's got a Paragon blade. You get the idea. Let's say that's 20 points. Have no idea here. It all just, and there's one of them. It totals it up, right? And then the idea with this is you then copy all of this and then you paste that into your army list option in the bottom corner. There's a little tab which is hidden by Jason, but you'll see if you're using it on the bottom corner. So the idea behind it is build your army in the detachments tab at the bottom, and then paste it into your army list. So here's one I prepared earlier, and then this is how it sort of works. This is my first stab at building a 3K list for this. Please do not criticize me too hard. But no Praetor for me. Not about that. No heroes here. Just a siege breaker, chaplains, veteran squads, despoilers, tacticals. You can start to see it then filling out, right? So this is just a pretty cool tool. I don't know. Have you played around with this yet, Jay, at all, or not?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so it's handy, right? It's just a simple spreadsheet, but Andy's done a really great job on it. So thank you, Andy, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. That's it. That's building your army. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an indication as to what you can do. We're not going to go into any tactics here. We're trying to keep these videos reasonable time length, and we'll come back into another video about then actually building synergy into your army and what you're looking to achieve and all that sort of stuff. But this wanted to be the core mechanics of what to choose, how to do it, and hopefully with a useful tool at the end.
Good luck building your armies, guys.
Yeah, let us know what you think. I'm sure it's going to be challenging. Adios.
Bye.